Oh, how I've been dreading to make this video. Not because mixing ArmA3 mods is like playing with the Demon Core, but instead because there's even more to talk about than with the Lemons, see? You might assume that there's like 3 different Chimeras out there. Well, you're wrong. There's actually
9 different patterns.
Only a few of which commonly get spawned in by lazy Zeus's either for you or for the enemy.
Also, there's 2 that get added by a mod for the mechanics, but they seem rather crude and only use TIOW assets, so I don't feel like talking about them. Okay, thanks, bye.
Not including all the artillery that's based on the Chimera chassis, which I'll be talking about in a future video. Starting off with the humble TIOW Chimera. I'm only calling this thing humble because of the other batshit patterns we're going to get into later. This thing is honestly terrifying. Its APCR shells are actually a credible threat to a Leman Russ at close range. Granted, it's mostly Lemons from other mods, but I digress. One of its downsides is that it needs to change ammunition type like a tank, meaning a lengthy reload. However, its ammunition loadout is decent, and its hull-mounted heavy bolter is nice and destructive to anything less armored than a Sentinel. Its gun traverse is okay, it has alright gun depression, and a heavy stubber with 750 rounds. There's also no commander seat, so I hope you like multitasking. Its zoom is nothing short of insane, but the field of view around the point of aim is very much obstructed by the thick crosshair, and the screen edges being blacked out like a real scope. Its armor is pretty okay for what it is. Now, it's not necessarily going to save you from more shots or shells or rockets, but I found that it usually blows up last between it and the Chimeras from other mods. Its carry capacity of 12 will also serve as the gold standard for transportation moving forward, with 6 of them placed at some side-mounted counter-las guns, which are absolutely and completely useless most of the time, because their field of fire is so limited that, well, they're mostly going to point off to the side where they can't actually hit anything. And seeing as there's no alternative patterns of Chimera in the TIOW mod, we will be swiftly moving on to Grimdark Armory. Starting with, quite frankly, the goofiest vehicle of the bunch, the heavy Volta Optics Chimera. Now, before I explain the intricacies of this vehicle, that has essentially just another hull gun instead of an actual main weapon, I feel like I must explain the difference in the heavy bolters. That's because the Grimdark heavy bolters are nothing short of turbo autism, if they're used to literally anything else. Unlike the TIOW ones, where you usually have about 300 relatively slow firing and flying bolts, which have some decent splash damage and a good bit of AP, the Grimdark bolters throw all of that out of the window for what are essentially miniaturized rapid-fire autocannons. The basic bolts lack any splash damage and are quite frankly just slugs of pretty mediocre AP. However, the dedicated AP shells are pretty insane. They don't penetrate as much as the TIOW Chimera's autocannon, but they also fire at like thrice the rate. The high explosive shells are comparable to the TIOW bolters, but the fire rate makes them phenomenal at melting anything that has 2 or more legs, or just chewing through buildings for that matter. With that out of the way, the Bolter Optic variant has 2 of those decent bolters, one in the hull and one in the turret. In comparison to its more well-endowed brother, it actually gets decent zoom. The thing that breaks its neck is that the hull bolter has no sight, not even a crosshair. Same with the broadside las guns, which, while fully automatic and having an okay ammo count, are basically impossible to aim unless you literally walk your fire onto the target. So you're stuck with one usable bolter that is literally useless against, well, anything at longer range due to the lack of a crosshair, unless you have a third-party crosshair on your screen. And yeah, no Grimdark Chimeras come with commander or coax guns, so we don't have to mention that again. So is all of that worth giving up a third of your firepower for zoom? No! So we choose the actual good variant of the Bolter Chimera. The dual heavy Bolter Chimera is the exact same as the previous one, with the exception that it has essentially a storm bolt in its turret, making it a pretty terrifying infantry lawnmower that also eats buildings and light vehicles. No more notes on this, it's just straight upgrade except for having less zoom, but, well, you're not exactly supposed to be sniping with the damn thing anyways. Then there is The Autocannon Chimera. The gun has meh zoom and a simple and unobtrusive side picture, which allows for more situational awareness than a TIOW one. But I really dislike the autocannon. The AP is only a bit stronger than the bolter, and the high explosive is about on par. And it has so little gun depression that, there's nothing left other than praying to the Emperor when something gets within 30 meters of you, because high explosive splash sure isn't going to save you. It's got a hull bolter though, with no crosshair. Moving on to the Multilaser Chimera. Extreme rate of fire, low spread, weird penetration, and not enough ammunition. Keeping it short and sweet with this one, unlike other multilasers, it can definitely engage light vehicles and kill infantry inside buildings and behind light cover. The interesting thing about this one is that even compared to its own standard bolt rounds, not the AP ones, the standard ones, the Multilaser is perfectly capable of going through an entire building and killing everything inside of it and behind it, which is why I would advise caution when using this in an urban environment with infantry together, because, well, if you overpen a building and the infantry is currently on the other side of it, you will kill your own infantry. What the Multilaser has trouble dealing with is, well, obviously anything more heavily armored than a Sentinel, and for some reason Space Marines seem to be somewhat resistant to it. The turret handles like any other of the Grimdark Chimeras. You have a hull-mounted heavy bolter with no scopes. You have your broadside lasguns, the front of which can actually almost completely face forward, which is definitely a plus. You have the standard transport capacity that all the Grimdark Chimeras share of 10 infantrymen, which is, it's not great. As with all of them, you don't have a coax gun, you don't have a commander, so again, have fun multitasking. With that, we actually have all the Grimdark Chimeras done. Next up is the ICP mod, well, the ICP Chimeras that is, but for those I am actually going to make a second part of this video, because those are, those are a lot. As always, links in the description. Shout out to the 5th Steel Legion and 399th Theodrian Dragoons, and of course the Vanguard, for actually providing me with practical experience on the different Chimera patterns. Like if you enjoyed the video, leave some feedback down below, and I will see you all in the next video.